Welcome back to CryptosRUs. I am George. We're all George. So it finally happened. Crypto bank Silvergate shuts down and unfortunately drags Bitcoin down with it. So what exactly happened? Why did this bank close down voluntarily? And what does this mean for the industry altogether? Well, let's discuss. So welcome, guys. Take a look at this. Crypto-focused bank Silvergate is shutting operations and liquidating after market meltdown. And take a look at the stock. I mean, the stock has been absolutely pummeled. It is down. It was down 5-6% today, down another 44% after hours. Basically, there was no path to recovery, and they knew that. Silvergate has been one of the premier crypto banks since 2014, since the CEO got into Bitcoin, right, and kind of turned things around and really made them focus on crypto. And that strategy has worked so far until recently when they decided to invest over $1 billion with FTX. I mean, just think about what SBF and FTX has done. How many companies they have caused to fail. Even some of the biggest companies. I mean, when you're borrowing the billions, it's just hard to recover from that, right? And ever since that happened, the deposits stopped, people start withdrawing, and bank runs start happening, and stocks start collapsing. And basically, you know, Silvergate's like, we can't survive this, right? We just have to close down. Now, according to Silvergate, they will be able to. They will be able to pay all their depositors, right? Basically, they feel like they're not even claiming bankruptcy. They're not even going to bankruptcy. They're just voluntarily shutting down. That's it. They're shutting down, liquidating, paying everyone back, and that is that. That's what it sounds like right now. Do they have a gaping hole they need to patch? It doesn't seem like it right now, but who knows? But right now, it just seems like they've just called it quits, said enough is enough. And, of course, this comes after all of its big clients have also left, including Coinbase, Circle, Paxos, Crypto.com, Bitstamp, CBOE Digital Market, Galaxy Digital, and Gemini all said they are stopping business with Silvergate. And I mean, that's everything, right? That's everything. So all of Silvergate's big customers have decided to stop business with the bank. So of course they're not making any more money, right? So it makes a whole lot of sense that they would do this. And also you have even miners like Marathon. Marathon had this credit line of $50 million, right, that they had with Silvergate, and they put down about $75 million of Bitcoin. They decided, hey, just to be sure, we're going to put that back. Okay, give them back the $50 million, take back our $75 million worth of Bitcoin, right, to be safe. So even from an interest perspective, Silvergate basically was not making anything. So that's exactly what's happened, right? Unfortunately, Silvergate going under is still part of continuation of the contagion that spread from FTX, right? And unfortunately, it pulled Bitcoin down slightly more today because of it. So you can see Bitcoin fell down from about 22,100 this morning now to 21,700. Unfortunately, a little bit weaker because of this news. And it sucks. It really does. Now, MicroStrategy also has some exposure. They took a loan from Silvergate, which they claim is not due until Q1 of 2025. But because Silvergate is closing down, right, they're probably going to ask for this back. So does MicroStrategy have enough to pay back and collect their Bitcoin? Hopefully. It was a $200 million loan, right? So I'm thinking they put down $400 million worth of Bitcoin, something like that. Maybe even more, right? So, yeah, there's that. there's that. I mean, right now it's actually tough for crypto banks, right? Because outside of Silvergate, there was really only two. You have Signature Bank and Silvergate. And Signature Bank recently said that, hey, we're going to limit our crypto exposure, right? And we're not going to allow any SWIFT transactions for crypto exchanges that are under 100,000. So there's definitely a lot of FUD right now in terms of how these crypto exchanges in the U.S., how they're going to operate with fiat on-ramp, off-ramp. Of course, you could still use things like credit card and debit card, and there are still direct wires, right? But as for withdrawals, it's seeming like it's getting more and more difficult every single day. Even Gemini, right? Gemini, who used to use Silvergate, they no longer use them, but they have another relation with JP Morgan, and there were rumors that JP Morgan was getting cold feet too and possibly ending bank relationship with Gemini, which Gemini said, no, not true, right? But, who really knows at this point? Jamie Dimon's no fan of Bitcoin. He has said that many, many times. Although JP Morgan does the opposite of what Jamie Dimon says, because they continue to do a lot of crypto business and help wealthy investors get involved with Bitcoin and crypto. So they're kind of doing the opposite, right? But right now, again, when it comes to banks and their relationship with these crypto companies and with these crypto exchanges, looking pretty iffy right now. And that's probably something that Gary Gensler is happy about, because he really wants to shut everything down at this point, right? He's no fan of anything that's really happening, and he wants total control. But the good news about that is we get some pushback today, and this could once and for all solve this big dilemma of whether or not Ethereum is a security. Remember, Gary tried to make it seem like Ethereum is a security, right? He said everything besides Bitcoin is a security. And he didn't say Ethereum by name, but he implied it. And he implied any company running on top of Ethereum's network is also security. But today, the CFTC chair came out while he was talking to the Senate Agriculture Committee. He's like, I made the argument that Ethereum is a commodity. It has been listed on CFTC exchanges for quite some time. And even the CFTC chair before kind of backpedaled on Ethereum. But now he's coming out and saying, again, he believes Ethereum is a commodity, not a security. And he says stablecoins should be commodities, right? So this means the SEC declaration that BUSD, Binance stablecoin, is a security, that's false. It shouldn't be a security. It should be a commodity, and the CFTC should control that, right? And also, Gary's claim that Ethereum is a security. Well, that is being challenged right now. Who will win, CFTC or the SEC, right? This is what we want. We want more pushback, because up until this point, Gary is just running wild like it's nothing, right? But we know that there are few important cases coming up that could put Gary in his place and could definitely rally us up from all this Silvergate contagion FUD, right? We got the Ripple case that is being decided and could end in the near future. The Bitcoin ETF. I just got a brain fart. Grayscale's lawsuit with the SEC. They may be winning, and we may get a spot Bitcoin ETF coming up. They also lost trying to block Voyager from being acquired by Binance, right? They also lost that too. So, I mean, there's a lot of things coming up that could really destabilize Gary in a bad way, which would be a good thing for all of us in crypto, including this. Because if CFTC can declare that Ethereum is a commodity, right, and people recognize that, well then, you know what? This will be a defense for all other future projects that are deemed securities, right? This gives them ammunition, a way to defend themselves. This is exactly what Ripple is looking for. So we have that to look forward to. And as for Ethereum, I haven't talked a lot about them recently, but you could see how deflationary they are at this point. We're at negative 50,000 ETH since the merger, the upgrade, right? And it continues to be burning and deflationary and keeps moving forward, right? And this is despite the fact that we're not completely rallying at this point. We are simply in recovery mode, right? But imagine when we are in bull run mode, how deflationary ETH will be, right? And some of the metrics that I have shown for Bitcoin for quite some time for Ethereum is looking pretty darn good as well, like balance on exchanges dropping to a 4-year low, right? Just like Bitcoin, so many are buying ETH and taking off the exchanges. And of course, that leads to scarcity. And of course, that leads to eventual price appreciation. Also, number of non-zero addresses just keeps going up and up and up. All-time high. Again, this leads to scarcity as more demand comes into this space and less supply is available. What does that mean? Well, that means the price is going to be doing this, right? So, still looking good for Ethereum. As for Bitcoin, you guys know Bitcoin is still Bitcoin, even though short-term volatility because of Silvergate, because of macro conditions, because Powell wants to raise rates and cause everyone to go broke, right? Bitcoin is still doing well, on path, recovering from bottom, right? And here's one that shows short-term holder crossing below realized price. And what does that mean? Well, the two previous times when this has happened, really, really good things happened afterwards, right? Just like you see in 2015 when Bitcoin found a bottom, it took many, many, many months before Bitcoin started rallying. And during those months, a lot of up and down. Same thing in 2019, just like right now, right? We are going up and down. But what followed those periods were glorious days afterwards, right? And that, I believe, is coming. And then you got other charts like this showing, of course, a MACD flip over crossing to the upside, right? This is on a 3-week scale. This is looking good. You have another one right here, right? Again, we got a lot of good metrics still that's showing Bitcoin is doing its thing, surviving, moving forward, and it will become bullish once again in the future. You just have to be patient, right? You have to be patient. And another reason why, right, we need to be more involved with hard assets like Bitcoin is because you guys know how much I despise what Fed Chair Powell is trying to do right now in terms of curbing inflation, right? Now, many people, after hearing what he has said for the last 2 days, they are turning very, very bearish because now people are thinking the only thing Powell can do is to bring the U.S. economy to its knees and create a deep recession. That's the only way to get people to stop spending money, only way to cause businesses to lay off people and increase unemployment rate. And that is how you bring inflation down, because that is the only thing the Fed can do. There's 2 ways to decrease inflation. You either stop demand or increase supply. And the Fed cannot increase supply. They can't make manufacturers and shippers and companies produce more. So what can he do? He could make demand go away. And unfortunately, when he does that, there are major repercussions, such as a lot of layoffs, a lot of unemployment people sitting at home, right? And that is why unemployment starts going up. This morning, I showed you guys a really good clip about that, how in according to history, U.S. history, in order to drop the inflation rate by 2%, you need to raise unemployment by over 3%. That means to get us from 6-point-something percent, 6.4 down to 2.1%, it's going to mean that unemployment needs to rise to 10% according to history, right? And this is the reason why now you have BlackRock and others that are thinking that Fed fund rate going up to 5% is not enough. We need to actually go to 6%. What does that mean? That means everything is going to get super, super expensive. Mortgage rates will be above 7, maybe heading to 8 or 9, right? Credit card loans, any kind of personal loans, home equity loans, anything which requires you to borrow money will be sky high. And not only that, businesses that require to borrow for liquidity, they can't do so anymore, right? And this really puts a strain on the entire U.S. economy, and that is what people are really fearful right now, right? But again, is this caused by the American people? No. High inflation was caused by overspending in the U.S. government and printing way too much money. That's why we're in our situation right now, not because of anything else, but the Fed, their only job is try to create price stability, and you really can't put the money back. Once you printed and distributed the money, we're talking about trillions upon trillions, there's no way to put it back. So this current course of action by Powell is probably just going to end with U.S. being in a deep, deep recession. I'm hoping that's not the case, but more and more people think that may be coming based on what he has said the last 2 days. And we'll see on Friday what the jobs report say and CPI, what the inflation report says next week, because those are very important data points and could determine how hawkish Powell is going to be the next FOMC meeting. All right, guys, that is it. Let's do some Q&A. Are Silvergate depositor insured by FDIC? I don't know. If it's like if it's cash, yes, but they're not even claiming bankruptcy. They claim they have enough money to give back. So it should be. I mean, right now, I'm just saying that it should be okay, but I'm not 100% sure. This is just breaking news, so I'm sure we will get more development as time goes on, but it's definitely causing a lot of fear in the industry right now. All right. Scrolling here. Thomas, I appreciate that. I will continue forward. Why do institutions involved in crypto keep on failing? Because they keep lending FTX money. FTX is what caused, basically, SBF single-handedly took down the biggest crypto companies on earth because they borrowed billions upon billions upon billions, and unfortunately, it's very hard to recoup. Very, very hard to recoup. So that's what's happening. Oh, today is DCA day. Unfortunately, I think the portfolio went down a little bit versus last week because this week's weakness due to the Silvergate FUD. But yeah, let's see. Last week, down 10%. Ouch, right? Silvergate is another contagion. But hopefully it's over. finally, because Silvergate is now closing doors, right? And, we may be getting some very, very good news with the SEC losing all these cases. So those could definitely be catalysts to drive us higher again. But you know what? We will continue forward, right? DCA, long-term, $100 for me every Wednesday, and we will keep moving forward. Looking at this past week, I know several projects have turned pretty weak, like Polygon, for example, Phantom, for example. They both went down a lot. I know Cosmos also went down a lot. So this week, I'm going to DCA into some of my favorite L1s, L2s. I'm going to put $33 into Polygon, Cosmos, and Phantom. And, I think you can't really go wrong with Polygon, even though I have a lot. Polygon, I think, has a very, very bright future. So let me run my calculator. So let's do $33. All right. Cosmos. And then let's do Phantom. Unfortunately, Phantom does move very fast. It does go up very fast. Sometimes it comes down very fast. But I do think they have a lot of promise. So, all right. So this week will be Phantom, Cosmos, and Polygon spread evenly, $32 in each. But like I said, this is meant to be long-term. Every week, we'll keep going. And watch this get back to even and then turn green, hopefully sooner than later. All right, that is DCA. I don't have CoinMarketCap up. George, during Powell's hearing, they said FedNow instant payment is coming out in a few months. Would this kill crypto? No. But it can affect stablecoins greatly because FedNow instant payment is basically a digital dollar, right? So it is definitely the biggest competitor to stablecoins like USDC. USDT, but no, is very different than every other crypto out there. George actually felt bad for Jerome. The House reps treated him so poorly, acting like it was his fault we overspent these last 3 years. Yeah, it wasn't just the House, it was the Senate too. I mean, Powell, as powerful as he is, he only has the ammunition to curb inflation by decreasing demand, right? But he didn't cause the inflation himself. The U.S. government did. All Congress did. The president did. The U.S. government, with their endless spending, with the overprinting, that's what caused our really high inflation. There will always be small inflation, but the very high elevated inflation, right, was mostly due to that. So Powell, he's caught in a situation where he has to try to fix it, right? And today and yesterday, Congress did dog and pony show, basically trying to point fingers at Powell, saying he's not doing enough and he's going to do this and this and this. I mean, but still, they're the ones. They should point the fingers back at themselves because they're the ones that caused this. So he's just trying to do what he can, but it's not an easy position. It's not. there's really nothing else he could do. I mean, there's only a couple things he could do. I mean, honestly, the only two things he could control is how much they have on their balance sheet, right? And how high the rates should be. I mean, that's really the only two things he controls, which are two very powerful things. But, he's not the one that just created $6 trillion out of thin air. No, the U.S. government did. Did you see that CADX rebranded to Echo DAO? They're building a suite of community-driven products. Can they also announce Teller Oracle is building? Are they good Oracle? I don't know. But I've said this. I don't trust any Oracle networks out there besides Chainlink. Too many out there. There's a lot of Oracle out there that have failed, that have been hacked or shut down and whatever. And they have caused massive hacks happen in this space. So I don't really trust any Oracles besides Chainlink. That could change in the future, but right now, no. But it's good to hear about CADX, I guess. I think CADX is a pretty good name. I don't know about Echo DAO. Too many people try to put DAO in their name, thinking it's like some kind of buzzworthy term that somehow makes them look and sound better, I think, and it doesn't really do that. Don't spread hopium. Elizabeth Warren Pocahontas told Powell that his tactic has never worked and has always led to a recession. Man, here's the thing. Again, I just got done talking about this, right? All these Congress people could point fingers at Powell saying this won't work, this won't work, right? I get it. They have to put on a show, but they're the ones ultimately that needs to be held responsible. They're the ones that voted for all the stimulus payments and the forgiveness payments and all this stuff, right? Why are they not pointing fingers back at themselves? So it's easy to point fingers at Powell, but they're the ones that need to solve it, and no one wants to solve it. The U.S. economy, how strong it is, somehow has turned into a weapon now because of inflation. It's horrible. It's horrible. What are your thoughts on Circle pushing Ripple and XRP out of space, especially as Circle is backed by Goldman and Gensler? No, I don't think they compete at all. And Circle itself will probably be pushed out of this space by this new digital dollar, the Fed now. So they have to watch out for that. Powell's a scapegoat. He is. Imagine how bad it would be if Powell announces resignation like tomorrow. I don't know who would want to take that job. And I wouldn't blame the guy for doing so because, again, he's being blamed for everything and he caused none of it. I don't know. You could argue that maybe he could have been more aggressive early on. But he can't please everyone. If he was more aggressive front-loading the rate hikes before, he would have crashed markets even more. So people blame him for not front-loading the rates enough. Now people are blaming that he's, prolonging the rate hikes too long. I mean, he's in a position where he's stuck between a rock and a hard place, But hopefully, over time, his plan works, right? And if it does, he'll be seen as a savior. I mean, this is no easy job for sure. Gary Gensler Ventures. SBF Ventures has a ring to it. Gary Gensler Ventures somehow doesn't sound the same. What do you think about the new bull moon print indicator at the support of this higher low? I never heard of that one, but we'll have to see. Patrick, I appreciate that. Look at Brazil. Brazil started early and has their inflation locked in. Brazil and the U.S., to be frank, are two very different countries, right? Yes, some would argue if he started earlier, could have stopped inflation, but who knows? It's all speculation at this point. He could have caused downturn on other things very badly, or made it much worse, right? And of course, we had some other components that added to inflation that Powell himself has admitted that he thought would have been resolved by now and hasn't. For example, energy being higher due to the war. He can't predict that there's a famine among chickens that cause egg prices to go up, right? And of course, supply chain issues and production issues out of China, which he thought would have resolved a long time ago, didn't, but now is starting to get better, right? So there are those things. But still, ultimately, why we have high inflation is because you have a bucket of money like this, and then once you print more, the bucket of money becomes like this, and you would figure that's a good thing, but no, because you're expanding how much USD exists on this planet. And when you expand the total liquidity by 40+% in 2 years, that's why you have inflation, because there's so much money now out there, right? And it causes prices to go up, and it causes everything else to be less valuable. That's really what it is in a nutshell, right? But no one wants to talk about that. No one wants to talk about it. I haven't heard anyone talk about the amount of money printed in the last 2 years by any senator or the president or the administration or any congressperson. It's like everyone's trying to just sweep that under the rug like it didn't happen, but it's clear that it did happen, and that's the reason why we're in a situation. And I talk about the U.S. only, but other countries too. Europe, UK, look at Japan, China, Australia, Canada. Every country basically has high inflation at this point because everyone did the same thing. That's how all these countries operate. What I'm really surprised is BlackRock, though. BlackRock has a large amount invested in Silvergate, put in even more money into Silvergate, right? And Silvergate went under. So I don't know how I feel about that, though. I don't know if BlackRock kind of knew what was happening, and they decided to pull out by announcing that, yeah, we're putting more in, when in fact they probably didn't and just pulled out right afterwards. Or they just caught off guard like everyone else, right? That's kind of interesting. But that actually surprised me, and you know, I don't know how that happened. But anyways. Wisdom says BlackRock is behind the scenes pulling the strings. I mean, I have no doubt about that. I think they definitely are. Who do you think will win an MMA fight, Genzer or Powell? You know what? I would put my money on Powell. I would say Powell would actually put up a good fight, and Genzer would be running around the octagon. You know, even though I know Genzer's probably younger than Powell, but I could see Powell knocking him out. Right? I would put money on that. I would put big money on Powell. Yeah, I just can't see Gensler doing anything. Even if his life depended on it, yeah, I would say he'd just be running around, and Powell just beat the S out of him. Gary is not older than Powell. No way. Gary is probably not much older than me. 57. No, I'm wrong about that. He's much older than me, but I gotta pull up the calculator here. 2023 minus 1957. So Gensler is 66. Hopefully I spelled Jerome right. Yeah. So 53, 57. Oh, wow. You're right. You're right. Gensler is actually... No, I'm right. 4 years younger. 4 years younger. So Powell's 70 and Gensler 66. I don't care. Those 4 years mean nothing. Powell beat the shit out of... Oops, I didn't mean to say that. You beat the ass out of Gensler. I'll tell you that. I really want to know if Arwe is part of his DCA portfolio. Yes, I put that in there. Has a net worth between 41 million and 119 million. According to this, has as much as 119 million dollars. You know, maybe he doesn't want people to get rich in crypto is because he wants to, you know, he wants to be the only one that's wealthy. That's just a whole lot of money. What's Jerome Powell's net worth? $50 million. Making him one of the richest people ever to hold the title of chairman of the Federal Reserve Board of Governors. However, his fortune did not come directly from his role as Fed chair. Instead, he was a partner of Carlyle Group from the late 90s to 2000s. Man, every single person in office is extremely wealthy. Extremely. Wow. Wow. I did not think he was worth $50 million. If I had $50 million, and hopefully I will in this next bull run, I would not be putting up, you know, all this finger pointing from Congress. It's like, I'll give the middle finger back and say, screw you guys all. I'm retiring. I'm going to go enjoy my $50 million. Why do I have to deal with all this stress and be the scapegoat of the U.S. government? Like, I don't know why anyone would want that job, especially when you are already this wealthy, you know? I don't know. I guess he just must be really bored and doesn't want to retire. That was the biggest pay-per-view fight ever. If Powell was go fight Gensler, man, that would bring in like $1 billion. All right, guys. Oh, I missed the super chat. Jimmy Doss says, it's ridiculous they pretend it's not them. I hate them politicians. Use unelected government to keep effing us. They want to ruin crypto at the same time. I 100% agree with you. All right, guys. Time to call it. You know what? Powell is being blamed, but he has no choice. He's going to keep raising rates to try to stop the bleeding. But you know what? Those senators and Congress people that pointed fingers at this guy, they really need to point the fingers back at them because they're the ones that caused it, not him. He's just trying to do what he can, but I know he's an easy target. But unfortunately, you know what? Silvergate is also adding to the FUD, right? They are shutting down, so I'm sure we'll hear more about that in the future. But the good thing is Bitcoin is not going away. The fundamentals are still fantastic, and not just them. We may be getting some help soon when Gary gets shut down by many of the lawsuits that he started. And the CFTC is also fighting back too. So these are all great things. Stay strong, guys, and I'll see you guys tomorrow, 8:30 a.m. Central Standard Time. Have a good night. Take care. Bye-bye.